It started as just another quiet Monday morning in late October. The weather was gray and cold, a perfect match for my mood. I remember sitting in my second period biology class, half listening as our teacher droned on about photosynthesis while the rain tapped against the windows. The only thing keeping me awake was the thought of lunch, just a couple of hours away. Our school wasn't the kind of place where anything exciting ever happened. It was a small-town high school tucked away in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods and cornfields. But that day, everything changed. We were halfway through the lesson when the announcement came over the loudspeaker. At first, it sounded routine, the kind of interruption you'd expect for a fire drill or a random announcement from the principal. But the voice that came through wasn't calm or composed. It was shaky, almost trembling. "This is not a drill," the principal said, her voice cracking. "All teachers, initiate lockdown procedures immediately. I repeat, this is not a drill." The classroom fell silent. You could hear the faint hum of the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. My teacher froze for a moment, then quickly walked to the door, locked it, and turned off the lights. She gestured for all of us to move to the back corner of the room, away from the windows and door. At first, it felt like a prank. Some of the students whispered nervously, cracking jokes to ease the tension. But then we heard it, a sound that made my stomach drop. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps echoing down the hallway. The sound grew louder, closer, as if someone was walking slowly, deliberately, stopping every few steps. The kind of footsteps that didn't belong to a teacher or a student. It wasn't rushed or panicked. It was calculated. Our teacher held up her hand, signaling for us to stay silent. The whisper stopped instantly. All you could hear was the faint tapping of rain against the windows and those slow, menacing footsteps in the hall. Then a loud crash echoed through the building. It sounded like someone slamming a metal locker door with full force. A girl next to me gasped, and our teacher shot her a sharp look to stay quiet. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure whoever was out there could hear it. The footsteps stopped just outside our classroom. There was a long pause, the kind that makes your skin crawl, and then tap, 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 knocking on the door. It wasn't a normal knock. It was slow and rhythmic, almost like a taunt. Someone out there knew we were inside, hiding, terrified. A boy next to me whispered under his breath, "Who the hell is that?" Our teacher stayed calm, but I could see the fear in her eyes. She motioned for us to stay still, not even breathe too loudly. The knocking continued, and then the doorknob rattled violently. Someone was trying to get in. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms as I tried not to panic. The door held, but the rattling didn't stop. Whoever was on the other side wanted us to know they were there. They wanted us to feel trapped. Then, something terrifying happened. The lights flickered, and we heard a voice, not over the loudspeaker this time, but from somewhere else. It was a whisper, barely audible, coming from the air vents. "I can hear you breathing." A cold shiver ran down my spine. My eyes met the girl next to me, her face pale with fear. We were too terrified to move, too terrified to even breathe. After what felt like an eternity, the rattling stopped. The footsteps started again, moving away this time, fading down the hallway. We sat there in silence for what must have been 15 minutes, though it felt like hours. Just when we thought it was over, we heard the loudspeaker crackle again. But this time, it wasn't the principal's voice. It was a man's voice, deep, raspy, and calm in a way that sent chills down my spine. He didn't say much, just 6 words that I'll never forget. "I know where you all are." A girl started sobbing uncontrollably, and our teacher did her best to calm her down. The rest of us just stared at each other, wide-eyed and pale. Who was this man? How had he gotten into the school? And how did he get access to the PA system? The next half hour was a blur. We heard more crashes, more footsteps, and muffled voices in the distance. The PA crackled again, but this time all we heard was static. Then a distant scream, a noise so terrifying it made my blood run cold. The entire school seemed to be consumed by an eerie silence, broken only by the distant sound of something shuffling in the halls. Then there was a thump, loud and deliberate, followed by the unmistakable sound of breathing. Slow, labored breathing, as if someone was standing just outside the door. Suddenly, the door handle rattled again. But this time, it was different. It wasn't the same rhythmic knock we'd heard earlier. This time, the rattling was frantic, desperate, like something or someone was trying to claw their way inside. I heard a voice, faint and broken. "Please, let me out." The sound was unmistakable. It was our teacher. But something was wrong. Her voice was hollow, distorted. It didn't sound like her at all. I could feel my heart racing as I glanced around the room, looking for any escape, any way to get out of this nightmare. But there was nothing. We were trapped. Then, with a deafening bang, the door splintered. The sound of something heavy crashing against the wood filled the air. My breath caught in my throat as the lights flickered again, plunging us into darkness. Just as I thought we were about to be dragged into whatever nightmare awaited us, we heard sirens. Police sirens. They were here. We heard shouts, doors opening, the sound of rushing feet. The school seemed to come back to life. But when the police finally arrived and the lockdown was lifted, there was nothing left to explain what had happened. The halls were empty, save for a few scattered papers and a trail of blood leading toward the back of the school. The PA system was still on, crackling, repeating the same 6 words over and over. "I know where you all are." But here's the thing. They never found him. The police scoured every inch of the school, every classroom, every hallway, and even the basement. They found no trace of the man. Not a single fingerprint, no sign of forced entry, nothing. The only clue they found was an old, weathered journal in the back of the school's library, written in strange, cryptic symbols. For weeks, the entire town was on edge. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said it was a drifter passing through, someone looking for shelter in the storm. Others claimed it was something darker, something not entirely human. The school installed security cameras and new locks on all the doors, but it didn't make us feel any safer. Even now, years later, I still get chills thinking about that day. About the man who walked our hallways, knocked on our door, and disappeared without a trace. Whoever or whatever he was, I just hope I never hear those footsteps again. But sometimes, when the wind howls through the trees at night, I swear I can hear them. The slow, deliberate footsteps. And I wonder if he's still out there, waiting for the right moment to come back.